Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Yeah, welcome to your favorite Thursday soccer footy show. This is Tim Kolach, your host, and welcome to Soccer in 60, the show where we're going to cruise around the entire LA, greater Los Angeles area. We're going to talk a little Angel City today, as we've got a great interview set up with Lee Nguyen, one of the assistant coaches. We've also going to talk a little LAFC and LA Galaxy, as they've both been in action since we last hung out together. And then we're going to get into a little Strykers and a USA-Mexico indoor soccer match coming up here. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Orange County and their trip to the oil capital of the world out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. With me this week is one of my favorites, Nina Kiefer, as my co-host this week. Nina, how are we today?
We're doing great. Thanks for having me back again, Tim. For everyone who's joining us on 1490 AM or 98.1 FM in much of the Inland Empire, thank you for being here. You can also find Soccer in 60 on the KMET app, KMET1490am.com, or of course the Empire Strykers Instagram and YouTube. We are on demand, Empire Strykers YouTube, and all major podcast platforms. Just search Soccer in 60. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We love having you here for this show. And as Tim mentioned, we've got an amazing guest with Lee Nguyen today. He's going to be joining us in a few minutes, but plenty of other footy around LA to cover. Tim, it's a beautiful day. What do you say?
Oh, it's a gorgeous day in sunny Southern California. Hopefully, wherever you are, Philly, if you're still in Frankfurt, it's midnight and it's cold in Frankfurt, Germany. And with that, we've got some great stuff going on. We've got, when we last spoke, we were right ahead of the Leagues Cup game for LA Galaxy, and we were talking about that, having a great time with it. But unfortunately, Seattle is a heck of a place to play, and Lumen Field, they lit it up for Seattle, but they turned out the lights. Turn out the lights, the party's over. Little Monday Night Football action for you from the late 70s, if you don't get the reference. But, Seattle turned up the heat right away on the Galaxy and kind of put it to them, right? Just 4 minutes in, there's a great set piece, and set pieces on the road have been the bane of the away games for the Galaxy this season. And 4 minutes in, they're down 1-0. Off another corner kick just 7 minutes later, there's another bang play, and Jordan Morris, he puts a header in, but and John McCarthy makes a great save, but unfortunately for the Galaxy, it falls right to the feet of Jackson Reagan, and he says, "Thank you very much," and buries it. And just, Nina, 11 minutes in, and it's 2-0. And like we've always talked about, especially in Seattle, but not only on the road, winning on the road, no matter if it's a Leagues Cup game or MLS, it's tough to win, especially in Seattle.
Oh, yeah. For Galaxy especially. And, Morris is definitely a tough player, having signed very young. He's always been built. He's always been a American football player playing European football, if you will.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, and he's just a well-built guy. He's played on the U.S. men's national team for several years now. He's the epitome of an American soccer player. And it's not very fun to see him playing against the Galaxy, but he is a fun player to watch. It doesn't get any much better for the Galaxy. They're down 3-0 later in the game, 3-0 at half. There is a little bright spot for the Galaxy late in the second half. Gabriel Peck does get one back for the Galaxy to make it a little bit more respectable game and just not a complete and utter blowout. And got to make sure that the Seattle keepers don't get those clean sheets. But that is the end of the road for the Galaxy inside the Leagues Cup. And onward and upward go Seattle into the next round. And it's interesting. We've talked about the road for the Galaxy, right? And the Galaxy, the Galaxy is very pedestrian on the road across all competitions, just 6-6, 6-5-5. Win record for sure, but it's hard to win at on these road. And they've got this weekend off, but the Galaxy do return to action against Atlanta on August 24th. We'll get into the game next week on Soccer in 60, but we can talk a little strategy. We can talk a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But the transfer window didn't quite close yet on the LA Galaxy without them doing something. Let's talk about somebody from Germany. Marco Reus was just signed. He's signed for the next 2.5 years. He's signed through the 2026 MLS season. And this is fantastic. The Galaxy were able to use a bunch of general allocation money to pick him up from Charlotte, and getting him on this team is going to shore up that midfield, and putting a guy of his caliber on the pitch, Nina, it's going to be super fun to watch between him and Pooch. It's going to be
Royce coming. He was actually out of contract. He's 35 years old, but been doing some great things overseas in the German league, playing for Dortmund over there, which ironically has a lot of ties to LAFC. But Royce said he had his eyes set on Galaxy. He wanted to get out of Europe and out of Germany because of his ties to Dortmund, and he wanted to go somewhere different. So he's an attacking mid, really looking forward to being over here. Got a great pedigree on him with 171 goals and 426 appearances across league and cup matches. He's earned 2 German Cup titles in 2017 and 2021, and 2 Super Cup trophies in 2013 and 2019. As you mentioned, Tim, Galaxy acquired Royce with discovery priority, which is a very unique thing to MLS. And they gained that from Charlotte, as you mentioned. So coming on over, getting ready to sign and play for a good chunk of time. One of the things that really interested me about Royce is a quote he had. And Tim, I'm going to let you react to this one. He talks about how it's a challenge traveling to a continent that masquerades as a country, playing in the heat, playing on an artificial surface, playing in playoffs. 4 different things, unique challenges that he's never encountered before.
Yeah, right. Because in the Bundesliga, much like the Premier League, you play and then that's it, right? You win the you win the league title, you're done. You have the tournaments like the Pokal and some of these other things, the equivalent of the Lamar Hutton US Open Cup or the FA Cup type of stuff. But having him come in, and we'll get into this with the LAFC segment too, about playing on artificial turf, as it's interesting because nobody in Europe plays on artificial turf because you just can't. It's too cold during the winter to play on concrete covered by plastic, right? And so it's much different. And then the other thing is that it just does not get as hot over in Europe because they're much farther north than it does here in the States, where, you're playing in places like Texas or even LA when we're here during the middle of a heat wave, which can hit triple digits, even that close to the beach at, LA at the BMO Stadium or even at the Dignity Health Park. It's just not the same. And the Europeans have to get used to that. And typically it takes at least 2 or 3, 4, 6 months to really figure out how to play in the heat and the different weather temperatures.
Yeah, not to mention the travel. There's a huge difference between the travel within Germany and the travel within the United States. And that's something that I think we take for granted here when we have our players who are used to, the fact that New York is a 5-6 hour flight and, you're flying private or you're chartering a plane. So it's a little easier, but that does take a toll on teams. And we see that in our away records, as you hinted at with this prior game with Galaxy. And that was only a 3-4 hour flight up to Seattle.
Right. And when you do that and you say you're either flying charter or stuff like that, it's an easier thing. But when you're in Germany, a lot of it is if they are flying on a plane, it's an hour. Most of the time, if it's on a
Mhm.
bus ride, it might be 2. But again, you're on a chartered bus, things like that. And you're just having to deal with that travel, and it makes it much harder. Like you said, when you're traveling across an entire country and it's 2,700 miles coast to coast, it's far different than traveling 270 in Germany. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, a
Yeah,
very
but
different scenario, and I'm excited to see how he does. I think he's gonna shine. He says he's ready to go, so
uh,
let's see him come on over.
I think it's going to be great. And to have, a 3-time Bundesliga player of the year playing in your midfield for you, I think it immediately puts the pressure on every other team coming down to the wire to the playoffs. And
Mhm.
like you said, he was out of contract. He sounds fresh. He's going to come in. I think he's going to be bombs away for the Galaxy this coming season, for the rest of the season and the next 2 years.
Yeah, an
So.
attacking mid at that. I'm ready for some Galaxy goals. But let's talk about some leagues, some teams, and the Empire Strikers with the USA Mexico team. Talk about high scoring. We got some big announcements coming out of the Inland Empire today.
Yeah, there's a couple of press releases that have just recently come out, about who's playing. We're talking about Alan Perez. We've got Justin Stinson. We've got a bunch of guys coming out to play. And, I can't, the press release, shh, don't tell anybody. But
Yeah,
it was announced on social media, some of these guys that are going to play.
Yeah, I mean, Empire Strikers being represented in a lot of these teams. So USA Mexico is happening on September 29th with the women playing at 1:30 p.m. and the men playing at 4:30 p.m. Great call ups here. Empire Strikers announced that 4 of their players were called up to the Mexican side competing in the rivalry clash against the United States. Marco Fabian, Miguel Ponce, Castillo, and keeper Brian Gomez are all being called up for their team. Really exciting because Marco Fabian and Miguel Ponce will represent their country together for the first time since 2014. That's
Yeah, right.
decade.
From the World Cup, right? When they played together at when they were playing together, and the 2014 and 2018 World Cups, they were teammates. And for the first times in a long time that they're going to play together on a Mexican national team. And it's going to be fun. So if you guys, they played this game last year and it was super fun. I'm sorry, Ponce was not part of the 2018 World Cup team. So again, Nina, you are correct that it was the first time since 2014 that they are both going to play together. But yeah, seeing an international game like this, and you get a guy like Brian Orozco, right, is going to play for Team USA. So you've got the keepers for the Strikers facing off against each other in this international match that's going to be just a ripping good time.
Yeah, before we get into the USA side, I want to dive a little more into the Mexican side. And with that, Marco
Yeah.
Fabian specifically, because he's gold medaled, he's got 43 national team caps, and he was new to the indoor game last year and won the Golden Boot in his rookie season and Elite Six and Newcomer of the Year honors. So this is going to be quite the matchup. He is known for his brilliance on the outdoor pitch. And, I'm excited to see him run up the scoreboard, or at least try to, against the USA in this matchup. And, Ponce himself, also an impressive career. He had close to 250 appearances from the time he retired from the outdoor game in 2022. It's quite incredible to see what these guys are doing, and impressive that Empire Strikers are able to have so many call-ups. You mentioned the US side joining Cisse. You're going to get some other Empire Strikers that we know of: Momo Guy, Justin Stinson, and Mijatovic, Alan Perez, Brian Orozco, just to name a few. Really exciting to have Stinson and Mijatovic returning to the Inland Empire after their loan to Tacoma. I'm sure they're going to be greeted heavily and excitedly by all of the fans. Cisse,
Right.
as we all know, great career with LA Galaxy. He was a teen prodigy there. But Perez, we talked about Marco's stats. Let's You want to talk
Let's
about somebody who has truly embraced the indoor game as a whole. Perez was named most improved last season. He went from the prior season with only 2 goals to 9, with only 2 assists to 13, and he's averaging a point per game. This is an incredible person to watch, and I'm waiting to see how he dials it up again in this game and then dials it up again for the next season for the Strykers.
Yeah, to be able to come in from the outdoor game to the indoor game, we've talked about this a lot, but you see somebody of just the talent level of a Marco Fabian, okay, we kind of get it, a couple of World Cups, he can kind of figure this out. But the indoor game is night and day different. And for somebody like Alan Perez to come in, for a Marco Fabian to come in and just really light the lamp as they did it's really been fun to watch, but it's been incredible at the ability of them to really understand the game that quickly. And for a guy like Perez, who's only 25, to really come in and only have played outdoors, for 23 years of his life, because I'm sure that we all started playing when we were 2 or 3, at least kicking the ball around, to be able to come in and be that most improved player on the team and average a point of the game. It's been really amazing. And while he's been with us for a few years, to really showcase his talent over this past season was just really, really good to see.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about this game is when you've got people being called up, there can be issues with team chemistry. You have to get enough
Mhm.
reps as a team. You need to be able to read where players want the ball. Do they like it on their outside foot or their inside foot? Is their gate wide? Like, where am I placing this ball? And in the indoor game, that becomes even more important with its fast pace. And with Empire Strikers having so much great representation on either side, it just tells me that this is going to be a heated match. I'm picturing goals galore.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think your biggest thing, we talk about it with every team that we cover here on Soccer in 60. It's that chemistry makes all the difference in the world. It's either going to be the best thing for your team or the worst thing for your team. Because if you can bring in 5, 6 guys that really understand how each other play, uh,
Mhm.
it just makes such a difference. Like you said, do I take the pass on the outside of my left foot or the inside of my right? How that's going to happen is really, really going to make a difference. And I'm with you. I don't see this thing being a 4 to 5 goal a side thing. I'm seeing 13, 14 goals per team. And that's not going to be a detriment to the goalkeepers. That's just because the level of play that you're going to see on the field.
Absolutely. And we will be there definitely, but make sure you go onto Ticketmaster, get your tickets now. It's a double header. You get to see the women play and then the men play. Both tickets are available, or the one ticket you need for both games. Super exciting, fun day for everyone. September 29th, 1:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. We're going to be at Ontario at Toyota Arena. Empire Strikers very heavily represented on both sides of the pitch there. Make sure you come out for the welcome back celebration for Stinson and Mijatovic. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to wrap this game up and to be able to tell you about how many dozens of people scored how many dozens of goals.
Right. I'm looking forward to it too, because, the venue is great. Parking is the best in Southern California for a game to go see. You're in, you're out. So don't worry about parking. Get there early just to come and be part of the party, and then stay late because they do sign autographs after the game. It's going to be fantastic, Nina.
Absolutely. And we're going to transition now over to Angel City FC, but they didn't have a game. So I got nothing to recap for you. I started mentioning last week that they were going to be playing a friendly against Juarez, and let's dive into that a little bit more. Let's get some preview going. Juarez currently sit in 10th place in their league with only 5 games played, but within that, they've got 11 goals for. So 10th place, to me is about equivalent to how Angel City is sitting, unfortunately, but 11 goals for in 5 games. Tim, let's math that out. That is more than 2.
Exactly. 2.2 to be exact. And that's pretty good Because the biggest thing, like we always talk about, Coach Paul Hardiman for OC was on a couple of weeks ago, but he said we got to score more goals. The Angel Cities, we've had Kennedy Fuller, we've had Madison Curry on, and they've said we got to score more goals. And if you're scoring at a clip over 2 goals a game, you're going to start winning a few more games than you're losing, right?
Absolutely. And, let's actually dive into that a little bit because it's a slightly deceiving goals for. I'm leading you on a little bit here. And that's because of their last matchup. They actually beat Mazatlan 6-0. And Mazatlan are currently sitting in last place. They're in 18th place. And, if you're familiar with Mexican soccer and Liga MX, Mazatlan actually took over the Monarcas a while ago, a couple of years ago. And I know Monarcas because that is actually my family's team. So really exciting to see them in the league, but not exciting to see Mazatlan coming in last place. But good for Juarez with a 6-0 win.
Right. So if you put that into perspective, right? And you kind of see this with some of the teams we covered, like Angel City. You might get a nice blowout win. You might score 3-4 goals. But then what's that do for it? Looks great on the stat line. But if you've got 5 games in, the other 4 games, you've only scored 5 goals, right? So if you're only scoring a goal a game,
that's still good. I'll still take that in soccer. And let's give a little more background on Juarez and to put this into a little more perspective. They were actually just founded 5 years ago. They had a game against America. And I use America because they also played Angel City. So America is currently in 7th place on the table, and they tied Juarez 1-1 on May 4th of this year. Angel City beat America 2-1 on July 20th with goals from Fuller and LaRue. So that gives me some good vibes. That lets me know that maybe we're in an okay place in terms of how much talent we actually have going into this match. Players I'm watching for Juarez, I am looking heavily at Ania Mejia. This name, she is actually 28 years old from Bloomington, California. She plays on Mexico's national team. She went to Berkeley, where she actually played from 2014 through 2016 before signing a professional contract in 2018. And she's been with Juarez since 2023. She's actually a center back and is one of their leading goal scorers.
Means that they're pushing up that defense to try and get it. No, so does that mean that the offense is much better coming out of the back and they're driving the ball in and then crossing the ball across? Or is it that their strikers are needing a little bit more help and relying on a center back to pick up the slack for them?
That tells me set pieces. That tells me crosses. That tells me let's get ready, Sarah Gordon. You got this. I trust our back line. I trust Didi in goal. I think that this could easily be a 3-1, maybe 3-0 win for Angel City.
Yeah, I'm looking at that same type of thing. You put that into perspective, and you put the players together, and they're going to get after it. They're going to put together a really nice, solid effort, and I see it being a 3-0 win too. At least 2-0. Didi and being the keeper and keeping everything out, and you put who knows? Maybe Madison Curry gets an assist, and Fuller puts in another couple of goals during the game against Juarez.
Let's see a press goal. Let's bring it all the way. I want to see Christian Press scoring, but before we even get there, we want to welcome to the show a man with ties to 2 of the teams that we cover, as he played for LAFC in 2018 and 2019 and recently joined Angel City FC as an assistant coach. Lee Nguyen has a well-traveled career that took him from the Netherlands as a highly touted youth prospect to Denmark, Vietnam, and of course, MLS. He spent 6 years with the New England Revolution, making nearly 200 appearances before coming to Los Angeles. Oh, and by the way, he's also a former U.S. international. Please welcome to Soccer in 60, Angel City assistant coach Lee Nguyen.
Hey guys, thank you. Thank you for the intro. Love your guys' prediction too for the game.
We're here to help you, Lee.
All right, Lee, let's dive
no pressure.
None at all. Guarantees. No.
All right, Lee, this is your 4th season actually as a coach, but your first with Angel City. What's it been like being on the sideline, and how have you settled into your job here in LA?
Yeah, it's been great. Being in obviously a new organization, but a lot of familiar faces, familiar with the players too. And like I said, like this is an amazing fan base, football in LA. They've been thriving for it, and it's glad to be able to see there's a women's team now in LA for our fans to support.
So, how has your view of the profession changed since your playing days? Would you say that you have a newfound respect?
Oh, you've always had a love for the game and a respect for it, and you definitely see it from a different lens now when you're on the other side, right? And so I think you have a newfound appreciation for what the coaches are going through. As a player, you kind of were just out there playing, and now I see what my coaches were going through and thinking, and now you have a little bit more respect on both sides for sure.
Oh, that's great. So, hey, this is Tim. So, Angel City has had some, they've been in the news once or twice over the past couple of weeks, right? You got some new signings. Kristen Press is back. You got new ownership. What are your thoughts on the momentum of the club and the overall trajectory that you see moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's definitely optimistic. I think it's also a lot of hope and
Mhm.
positivity. The momentum's great. Obviously with the summer cups come at a good time. The girls been able to get healthy, been able to string some wins together, and so this momentum, all these news, it's come at a good time, and hopefully it can continue to propel us, into the postseason.
Absolutely. Lots of great momentum, making it a good amount of the distance through the Summer Cup. But it was kind of a challenging season in the regular season so far for Angel City. What do you attribute that to? And, we're still playoffs bound, I'm sure, but what do you think has been kind of the hiccup?
I think it's a tricky thing in this game, right? You can play good football, you can dominate the majority of the game and still not get a positive results, and vice versa, right? You can not be the better of the team and come away with 3 points, and that's the beauty and the frustration of the game. But I think watching us this year, I think people can say, hopefully we're playing a better brand of football that the fans can enjoy. But I think at the end of the day, I think yeah, the frustration lies within the results at the end, and I think sometimes we have the chances and we don't finish them, or maybe we have the lead and we don't close out a game. And so those minor details are the things that take time to kind of nail down, right? And these is all part of building a team, not just for this year but for the future. And I think what you're trying to see is moves now in the summer window here, trying to put us in a better spot coming to the end of the season.
Definitely. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of those good moves. One of those that has been well awaited was the return of Kristen Press. So, what effect has that actually had on the team? What have you seen in the difference on the field, in the locker room? How's she doing?
She's great, and we're all happy to have her back. Her experience, um, obviously on and off the pitch, is a massive difference for us. Being able to just to have her name on the sheet, right? I think it brings us confidence, but also the opposing teams now they have something else to scout on.
Mhm.
And so also her quality, right? Her quality coming back is massive for us. And then yeah, the other pieces
Yeah.
too we're trying to add, hopefully can add to that.
With the amount of youth on the team, do you think her veteran presence even has even a higher impact? Do you is she bonding with the players the way that, your LaRue bonded immediately with Thompson?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's one thing to have her in in the locker rooms, in the training facility, but then it's another thing to have her on the field, right? And I
Mhm.
think you start to see it's a big notice when she's on the field. You can hear her, right? She's commanding her presence. She's directing. It's almost like having another coach on the field, which,
Yeah.
for me during my time, like it's huge having players that can understand the game, see the game, and have that voice on the field to help direct other players.
Yeah.
But yeah, you always want to find that balance of, young players, veteran players. And yeah, her presence, since she's come back has been an uplift for sure.
Which is super surprising because she's so soft-spoken almost. You hear her voice and it's so demure, and then you see her presence on the pitch and it's larger than life. There's such a juxtaposition in her play. But I definitely see what you mean. She's directing the pitch. She has an impact off the ball and on the ball, and I'm sure that's what you look for as a coach. And, you yourself, it's your third stop as an assistant coach in the NWSL. Do you have aspirations to be a head coach at some point?
Yeah, I think at some point, that's always the goal. And just trying to soak up, every experience I can from the coaches I've played for, I've worked under, and just try to better myself and grow as a coach, and be more prepared for when the moment calls.
Right. So there's been rumors that New England might be getting a NWSL team. And let's see, where'd you become a legend in MLS? Might there be, if that comes up, would that be something that would be pique your interest?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of soccer, and it's all these speculations and talks of what could be, what if, and yeah, I have nice roots in Boston. Had a long playing career there. Have you know a home there, have friends and family, and so it is nice every time I do go back to Boston. But I'm enjoying being in LA too, because for me, I play here 2 years, and again, like the fans, you can't compare LAFC fans and Angel City fans, and uh, let's just say this is also have been, I would say, a second home for me. In the off season, I've always come here when I was playing, and so being able to
Mhm.
be here as a coach and now kind of see the other side of it, it's been amazing.
Yeah, and with that, you were playing here professionally with when LAFC started, and now you're here quite frequently for a relatively new professional team and here in LA. Um, well, they're both in LA and even playing in the same stadium, right? You're both playing in BMO. What are some of the key differences that you've noticed between the two?
Yeah, I just think, obviously MLS has been around longer, and then I think what's great is to see the evolution of this league, and you're starting to see now the investments in women's soccer, and one, to have your own soccer specific stadium, which Angel City already has, with BMO, like that's huge, right? And that's a big draw. I think the only difference is the training facility, right? The LAFC, they have their own training facility tailored towards for everything them. Right now, we're kind of renting out the space at Cal Lutheran, or yeah, and so I would say that's the difference right now in that bit. But like the players, they have everything they need, and I can't ask for a better place to play on game days than Nabimo with the fans there. So this is definitely a massive step than where it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And then
Yeah.
I'm like amazing to see how it's been evolving and continuing to evolve in the women's game.
Yeah, let's talk about those fans and go back to your time at LAFC playing in front of the 3252. What is that experience like? What are your thoughts on how the club has grown and changed since your days with them?
Yeah, it's honestly it's always nostalgic coming back and watching them. Even this past Leagues Cup game against San Jose, I'm just like, wow, this is, because sometimes when you're playing, you see it, but then when you're in the game, it's kind of you don't even think about it. You're too focused on the game. But yeah, the tradition and what they've built, and are continuing to do every week, it's amazing. And like I said, it's, for me, when I was playing, it was the best atmosphere as a player, and now coming to experience it as a fan, it's one of the best experiences I've had watching the game from the stands.
Yeah, so you played kind of all over the world, right? You played in the Netherlands, you played in Vietnam, you played here in the States. What's the biggest difference between the three different places that you played?
Would definitely say the soccer culture is different, and everywhere I've been in Europe, in Holland, compared to in Asia, and then even in MLS. I would say there's more of a team camaraderie here in the States. In the locker room, everyone's a bit more tight knit. It's much closer. It's much more important that everyone gets along. Whereas in Europe, it's very business like. Everyone just comes in and does their job, and then they're off to their normal lives, right? And so it was more like you come in, you go to work, and then
You go home.
you go home. And then sometimes it's like, because there's also like there's a language barrier sometimes, and so you kind of hang around with people that speak the same language, and if you don't speak that language, you guys really don't hang a lot off the field, and so it's kind of like that.
Yeah, because you had that when you first started in Holland, right? You were very much so like that you didn't understand the language, right?
Yeah, and when I was there, I was fortunate to be alongside DeMarcus Beasley, another American who kind of brought me under his wing, showed me the ropes, and if I needed anything or if I wanted to come over his place and hang out, his door was always open, and that was for me was a great, for a 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid going abroad and trying to learn the ropes, but also live the professional life. I can see how it can be very difficult for someone going over there at a young age and not having anybody to kind of lean on.
Absolutely. I want to dial in on one thing. Lee, you're very humble, but you're a bit of a celebrity in Vietnam. What was it like when you were living there? Did you get recognized all the time? Did you enjoy it? What's that experience like?
And that is definitely a different experience than I was accustomed to, for sure. I got a little bit of that taste in Europe just because when I was at PSV, obviously a big club, small town. So you kind of get recognized in the streets a little bit, but not to the extent when I went to Vietnam where I was recognized and, kind of admired all over the country. And so whether it was a home game, away game, yeah, it was wild. And I didn't realize how big of a name I was there until I actually got there. And so it was really cool to see and experience in my kind of my homeland country, so to speak.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Tim told me to wrap. Sorry. Well, Lee, we are big fans of you here on Soccer in 60. Big fans of your time at LAFC, as well as your new career with us at Angel City FC as the assistant coach. Excited to see what you do. Don't leave us. Don't leave LA unless you absolutely have to. And if you do, take us with you, please.
It's been a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much, guys.
Super
Thank
fun,
you.
Lee. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
He is so nice. I'm such a big fan of his. He's just so polite. He sees the game in such an amazing way. And you can tell he's got that instinctual soccer IQ.
Yeah, for sure. Because he's seen a lot, right? He's seen, 3-4 different types of development, right? Vietnam, Europe, MLS, now the NWSL. And he's able to translate that really, really well, not only in what he was just talking to us about, but it's clear that his players are seeing that transition as well.
Absolutely. And with the departure of Lee from LAFC, let's dive into their recap. LAFC actually advanced to the quarterfinals of Leagues Cup for 2024, the second straight year, with their 4-1 win over San Jose Earthquakes at BMO Stadium on Tuesday night. Denny Bwanga scored twice. Christian Oliveira and Matty Bogusz each added a goal for the home side. Let's break down those goals. Ryan Hollingshead with the header near midfield, putting the ball into the path of Oliveira, who cut past an Earthquakes defender before firing a right-footed shot past their goalkeeper, William Yarborough, gave LAFC that 1-0 win lead early in the game. But San Jose Earthquakes did equalize in the 41st minute with a goal from Lopez. He actually hit a left-footed volley from the center of the box, tying the game at 1-1. But just before halftime, Yarborough actually pulled down Edward Atuesta inside the penalty area, giving LAFC a penalty kick, which Bouanga was able to fire past Yarborough and send LAFC into halftime with a 2-1 lead. And that gave me a good moment to explain some things to some people around me. Tim, the referee, and me came out. They're like, but he was the last man. I'm like, okay, let's break this down. Because the keeper, yes, he did get Atuesta. He did foul Atuesta. But it's not necessarily a last man red card offense, Tim.
No, not at all. I felt that it wasn't even warranted of a yellow card, and one was not shown. And so I can understand why they were talking about that. But the reality is it would have been exceedingly difficult for him to get a very solid shot on frame because he was going quickly. The ball was in front of him and he got taken down at inside the 6. So about 4 yards out. So to catch up to that, it would have been very difficult. So it's not a last man. It's not a red card situation at all. PK, absolutely, but not a red card offense, not in my opinion at all.
Totally agree with you. LAFC went into halftime with that 2-1 lead, but Bogusz extended the lead to 3-1 just after the hour mark when he collected a pass from Ilie Sanchez and hit a long-range shot that went through the hands of Yarborough and into the net. Just 5 minutes later, Bouanga put the game out of reach with his second goal of the game, making the score 4-1. But despite the score line being 4-1, the most exciting moment of the night happened in the 71st minute with the appearance, the sub in for Olivier Giroud, making his first minutes on the pitch for the black and gold. Wowsy, wowsy, wowsy. The stadium lit up as soon as he started stretching. And then when he took his top off, it lit up even more, put his kit on, and there we had it. It was an exciting moment. Didn't get his first touch, though, for about 8 minutes being on the pitch, but you could tell they were trying everything LAFC had to get the ball to him. And there was no way that the Quakes wanted him to touch the ball at all.
Absolutely not. You put somebody of that quality in, I'd put 3 guys on him too, so he doesn't get the ball because his sheer ability. And then once he did get it, the roar of the crowd, just the way people are reacting to him. And then even with him talking in the post-game presser, he was excited. Even he was surprised at the reactions that he was getting from the home crowd. And it was just excellent to see, excellent to watch, excellent to see him recognize that and then call the fans out and say how happy he was after the game.
Yeah, and with that, Leagues Cup is moving into the quarterfinals. Quick rundown of what's to come. Columbus versus NYCFC, Seattle Sounders versus LAFC, Philadelphia Union versus Mazatlan, and Club America versus Colorado, all taking place on August 17th. Varying times. You got a 3, 4:35, and 7 o'clock start. So tell your friends and family you are unavailable this Saturday and get ready for some fun footy. Let's talk about LAFC's preview. Let's talk about this. Going to Sounders, going to Seattle. We know they knocked out Galaxy, but LAFC have actually won 11 of the previous 20 matches against Seattle, most recently with a 3-0 win, and they are unbeaten in 7 away games. They haven't lost to Seattle in their last 8 meetings.
Right.
I'm feeling pretty confident then.
I'm feeling pretty good about this game too. We talked about it earlier that Lumen Field is an amazingly difficult place to play. You get a result, you run away, you go home, and you're happy as a clam. LAFC doesn't see it that way. They want to go in there and they want not a tie result. They want the win. They're highly motivated. They're playing really, really well. Hugo Lloris is, getting in there, playing just amazingly. Played great the other night. And just to be able to want it that bad on a cup like this. We talked about it last week. Is this stuff worth it? Is it really wild? Well, the players are now showing us that it really is truly worthwhile for them to be playing in this League's Cup and playing against, even if it is another MLS team, that they're playing it and they're playing for a trophy and they want it.
Yeah, and talking about this upcoming matchup, I'm definitely watching on the Seattle side Jordan Morris, who we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's got play style much like Denny Bouanga, but a little more muscle on him. He's going to be up top. And then we're going to have to defend down that left and watch out for Roldan. He's going to be quick with it, making all the right plays. Now, in terms of LAFC strategy going into this game, I really expect their goal scoring chances to mostly be created down their own left-handed side or across from right to left at the top of the attacking third. I'm saying it's Bogusz to Bouanga or Giroud all the way 2-1.
Yeah, I think that's a good score line. I'm just wondering, Cherundolo said in the post-game presser that Giroud was definitely going to be limited on minutes, right?
Oh, absolutely, especially on that pitch.
Right. And because it's turf and because it's concrete, basically. And I don't care what time of year it is. It's cold in Seattle. So, I mean, it's kind of like they put a soccer field in the middle of San Francisco. It's going to be cold. But I see that it's going to be a very fun game. I think it will go LAFC's way. And I think a 2-1 score line is the right number.
All right. We'll see how it plays out once again this Saturday, 5 p.m. for LAFC, but all of League's Cup finishing up the quarterfinals this Saturday. All the teams pretty much guaranteed to do something.
they gotta have a winner, Nina.
They have to do something, so make it happen. Let's go into OCSC. Tim, what do you got for us?
Oh, Orange County, they're starting to feel it. You and Philly had a great conversation a few weeks ago. We've mentioned it with Paul Hardiman. It's fun to watch these guys. It just is. I know that they've had a rough go of it. I know that with their former coach leaving, but with Paul Hardiman, who's been with the team since 2021, leading the team now, and they're starting to really play high quality soccer, right? They've played, they're up, they're down, they give up 3 goals, they go 0-0 tie. It always hasn't been the best of seasons. However, they're putting together a top 8 finish. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to have high quality people coming back. Jameson didn't play in this last game. They're going to have Thomas Amon come back, and it's going to be great. And so they traveled to what was billed as the oil capital of the world, right? Tulsa, Oklahoma. While I don't enjoy them playing on a baseball field, you cannot be in a better venue. They are right downtown. The skyscrapers are above them. And they played really, really well. They could have easily won this game 3-0. If you look at that first half stat line, or the entire game stat line, they fired 17 shots in this game, the most all season. They had 5 on frame, and a couple of these goals, the keeper was just playing out of his mind. They ran a 4-4-2, getting away from that 4-1-4-1. And it's now that they understand how to really truly play that 4-4-2, they're not getting burned on the back end, on the defense. They've got that midfielder sliding back. They've got Owen Lamb when he runs up and forces the offense. It's really, really working out. And Dunbar had a great chance in the first half, but the goalkeeper for Tulsa, Johan Penaranda, makes the save of the week, in my opinion, in the USL. It was just amazing. Dunbar just absolutely rips this thing from about 12 yards out, and Johan makes an amazing save on it. Ethan Zubak rings a header off the crossbar in the 49th minute, and then it's mob ball. It's just they're getting after it. They're kicking the ball. 2 different times, Tulsa has to clear the ball off the line to keep it a 0-0 score line. And it was just amazing to watch this entire game and how well the Orange County boys played. And if they can keep that up the rest of the season, they get 3 or 4 of these guys back from injury, Colin Shuttler was back in net. Mr. Shutout collects his 6th clean sheet as the game ends 0-0. He's tied for 4th in clean sheets across the league. It's just amazing. One of the other stat lines that you'll see is there were 24 fouls by Tulsa and 14 by Orange County. However, a total of only 3 yellow cards. So
Wow.
there are a lot of tactical. There are a lot of, hey, you're not going to get past me. There's a lot of very good clean fouls and not a lot of silly fouls, like a foul, inside the center circle with 5 other guys around and you try and take the guy out. Tulsa was very clinical about doing that, and it was fantastic. And so this week, Orange County comes home, and they've got 3 of the next 4 at home. This week they play the bottom cellar dwellers, the El Paso Locomotive, who have run out of coal and have only got 4 wins on the season. However, 3 of those have been on the road. So, it's great that they're in the bottom of the conference, but the reality is they're going to play really, really strongly this weekend. But come see them at the Champ. The Champ is going to be reeling and rocking. There's a pre-show concert put on. Come see them, come early, hang out, and cheer on the Orange County boys this weekend, because you're going to have Ethan Zubak, you're going to have Cameron Dunbar, you're going to have Owen Lamb coming out. You're going to have some of these really strong up-and-coming players play really, really well in front of their hometown. And with 3 of the next 4 at home, they're going to be well-rested. So get out, see them at the Champ, and go Orange County Soccer Club.
Absolutely. Sounds like a fun one. Sounds like they're clicking. 17 shots with 5 on target. That is absolutely insane. And with that clean sheet, with the 4-4-2, like you said, they're holding it down. They're playing the way they're supposed to. Super exciting. Another game happening on the 17th this Saturday. So it's a footy Saturday. Like I said, do not disturb, cancel all your plans. It's my sister-in-law's baby shower, but I don't know if I can go anymore. No.
Nope. Sorry, sister. I'm not coming. The baby's not even here yet, Nina. Come on.
And with that, let's talk about some other fun that's happening. We had our women score gold. They beat Brazil last week. They took it home. The Olympics are coming to LA officially. We've been handed the flag. We've been handed the torch, and our U.S. women's national team brought home a gold for us. Very excited to see that happen. And with that, also additional exciting news. U.S. men's national team started as a rumble, and it's like there.
Now it's a roar. Now it's a roar.
Pochettino is coming.
Yeah, Mauricio Pochettino is coming. It was broken late last night, about 2:30 in the morning Eastern time. So right around, the Tonight Show time last night here locally. And we've talked about this, Nina. You and I have talked about it. Me and Philly have talked about it. He runs a high press scheme, and he's done it really, really well all throughout Europe. Most recently with Chelsea. And he's had success with it. So when he finally gets here, puts pen to paper, signs it completely, gets here, I think it's going to be just fantastic for the U.S. men's national team.
Absolutely. I briefly mentioned last time, U.S. men's national team and the U.S. soccer in general really need to develop their playing identity. And I love this high press. I think the U.S. style of soccer needs to be high press, heavy running, kind of dirty, and just get it done. Focus on the counter, pressing triangles, making sure you're just catching people off guard. You're running at them to make them make a choice. You're setting the tempo of the match. That's going to allow us to control things and to really develop how we want to be seen by the rest of the world. We're a new soccer country. We're new to football, and we haven't had that opportunity yet to truly develop ourselves. So bringing in a player like this and a coach like this, I think, is a huge move for us. I think that this is going to set the tone for U.S. soccer, not just at the national and most senior level, but youth soccer as well. And I'm interested to see how he adapts our playing style and how he changes our coaching environment.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and I think it has to change. It has to change all the way down in the developmental leagues. Whether it's pay for play or it's even in the recreational leagues, because a lot of your youth soccer players get started in the rec leagues, right? Not everybody can
Mhm.
afford 3-4 grand to put you right onto a club bronze team or whatever at 9 years old. But if you can start to see some of these even recreational coaches start to play at that higher that desired level, or at least the functionality of being able to shoot more often, to press high, to make somebody make a mistake versus waiting for them to make a mistake, it's a much better brand of soccer. And kind of like what Emma Hayes did with the women's national team. She went in, she said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our best qualities and we're going to force it upon the other team. They're
Absolutely.
9-0-1 since she took over, 6-0 in the
Absolutely.
Olympics.
It's great. I love to see this. Don't forget to follow us, Empire Strikers YouTube. Search all major podcast platforms for Soccer in 60. Thank you for joining us on 1490 AM, 98.1 FM in much of the Inland Empire, or the KMET app.
Nina, hey, it's been great hanging out with you again for the couple of weeks. Philly will be back with us next week, but I'm certain that Nina is going to be back with us before too long. Everybody out there listening to us, thanks for joining us on Soccer in 60.